right, we're on.
Hey.
LG. Hey guys, so we have our special guest today. Introduce everyone. If you guys don't know, Classy, and if you haven't caught his actual review, the LG C2 review is up, right? Classy, is this part
Not
one of
the
10?
it's not the review, it's just the comparison to the C1.
Comparison. All right.
Yeah,
So a
I'm not gonna
review is
review until it's broken in.
got it. And how many days or weeks is that going to be?
Uh, hopefully it doesn't turn off while I'm on vacation. I'll be
Ah,
ready next week.
excellent. And you have a C2 as well, right, KG?
I do, yeah. It's right here behind me. One of
All
these.
right. So we're going to have. Now, I haven't spoken to either of you yet about your impressions because I want to bring you on. Maybe there will be disagreement, maybe not. And I can't wait to hear what you guys think of the C2. But Classy, you put up a video this morning. I watched it, and there were a couple of things you mentioned that was very interesting. I know we're all going to get into it because to me, the C2 looks like it's an upgrade, maybe because of all the hype and the early impressions. Now, before we jump into that, I was going to share with everyone real quick to give everyone context. How much does everything cost, right? So right here we have, let me see what's the best way to put it so y'all see it. Okay, this is probably the better. All right. So we've got 55 inch, 65, 75, 85 inch. If you're talking about the C1 in that 55 inch size, I've included the 48, the 42, and the 55 for the C1 and the C2. They're all within a few $100s of each other. So I don't think it's a deal breaker in the 55 inch size, but in the 65 inch size, you know, the C2 is like 2,300. I know it's MSRP. It'll probably hit 2,000 right after Prime Day, maybe. But right now, look at the C1 at 1,700, right? And you have, of course, the A8H is a little bit less if you can still find one, and the A80J is 1,800. Q90A is right there too, and the G1 is at 2,000. And there are some people saying, wait, the G1 is just like the C2, right? So I'm going to ask you guys if that's the case. And as you go up in size, things start separating. Okay, now, this is after watching your video and hearing some people talk about this stuff. I want to hear you guys share. We'll start with you, Classy, since you put up the video. These are the improvements that I'm gathering based on the numbers, right? So let's put subjective aside. Brighter with shadow detail, but you have to have dynamic tone mapping on and AI Picture Pro on. But then if you have it off and it's more color accurate, is there going to be a black crush? And obviously, I love the better motion. Classy, why don't you give us a quick summary of your thoughts on the C2 improvements?
So as far as the accuracy is concerned, so everything turned off in its accurate mode, it's pretty much the same as last year. Still has near black that's too dark. When it comes to colors, they're about the same. And last year there was a misconception that it wasn't like the C1 and G1 weren't accurate, and it's not that. It's just the default white point. It varies. Same thing with Sony. I measure a bunch of Sonys, A90Js, A80Js. Some of them are really good out of the box. Some of them aren't. Same thing with LG. Some are really good. Some aren't. If anything, LG is actually more accurate with HDR and Dolby Vision than Sony.
So I want to stop you right there because this may be putting some myths to bed because you were at the shootout with me, right? And there was Sony saying, hey, we do a bit more color accuracy out of the box. And we're talking Master Series at least, right? And then even the non-Master Series, there's this comment that Sonys generally are more accurate out of the box. But now that you've been calibrating a bit more and you're seeing these TVs, Sonys and LGs, are you saying that you're not actually observing the additional or the better color accuracy out of the box?
I'd say they're a tie, and it's panel lottery. You get one that's delta airs in the ones, or you get one that averages in the threes, and everything in between. And they both have white points that vary anywhere from too warm to too cool. And I wouldn't say one is more accurate than the other consistently, other than I would say LG, for whatever reason, does a little bit better with HDR accuracy out of the box.
Okay. And also this part, I was going to get clarity from you because I think this is something that I want to make sure that I'm understanding. So when I watched your video, it was very clear that if you don't have dynamic tone mapping on the C2, and AI Picture Pro on, there may be some black crushing, but I want to make
Yep.
sure it's just not for gaming. When does this black crushing happen on the C2 so that when our viewers get a C2 and they have black crushing, they know how to avoid it?
So in SDR, it's basically the exact same as last year. In HDR, it is a little bit worse on the C2. I will measure that again because the panels do brighten up the dark regions as they age. So I'll measure that again after I'm going to go about 120 hours. But as of right now, you can see in HDR, it is a bit darker in near black.
Near black.
So, yeah,
But
but
then,
you
but that's
turn this
with
up on and boom,
right.
it's fine. Yeah.
And that's with dynamic tone mapping off,
Yeah.
and AI Picture Pro. Or actually, let me take that back. Which of these two is reducing the black crush? Is it the dynamic tone mapping that needs to be on, or AI Picture Pro needs to be on, or both
So
needs to be on?
dynamic tone mapping, even last year, would fix the near black like that. That's what LG ships them with dynamic tone mapping turned on. They expect people to use it. That's how it's tuned. AI Picture Pro. So last year would affect the entire screen. Like you can see in the video where the whole screen just shifts its luminance and gets brighter, but then highlights come down and things like that. Whereas on the C2, it's very targeted. If you go to the 10-minute mark of my video, which has the scene in Sweet Tooth, it's outdoors and there's a guy with a big coat on. If you look at that coat, you see where the shadow areas of the coat get more shadowy, and then the bright areas brighten up when you turn it on, and then like the ground stays the same, and then you see like changes over in the trees and things like that. On the C1, you just see the entire scene, just the average pixel level goes up and the highlights come down. So it's much
Now,
improved this year.
now you mentioned something that I thought is kind of critical. When you get it out of the box, dynamic tone mapping is on, right?
Mhm.
And AI Picture Pro is on, right? Both of those
Not
are on?
always.
Yeah,
That
Not
depends on the
always.
picture mode.
you have the option to
Okay.
turn it on in settings.
Yeah.
Like when you set it up.
Okay.
And
Because the
then
reason, okay, go ahead.
KG, have you experienced issues with the AI Picture Pro not working in all the time right now? Like on stream, it wasn't working for me. When I did my video, it was working. Today, it's not working again. So it seems there's a bug that LG needs to update for it.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like it doesn't do anything. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's intentional or if it just
I think it's a bug because I literally
Yeah.
used the same spot, the same source, the same everything, and it's not working right now. But it was when I did my video yesterday. So there's
And
other people on AVS saying the same thing, that it doesn't seem to work sometimes.
so this is a comment, and this is why I want to make sure is when you get it out of the box, there should be no black crushing because, and this, hey, Rick, thanks for coming by. There should be no black crushing because the dynamic tone mapping is on, right? It's only if you turn it off that you'll see the black crushing, right?
Yeah, but in game mode with HGIG, it's accurate. You get crushing.
Because HEIG, oh, so that's ironic. HEIG is supposed to be shadow detail accurate. That's what I thought last year, right, with the C1 and G1. But
It's
this year,
yeah,
maybe
no,
not.
that just preserves highlight detail. That's what
Okay.
it's for.
Mhm.
So that's the other thing, is you do get a touch more highlight detail on the C2 with HGIG on. You turn deep dynamic tone mapping on, and then it's the same.
And one thing that we all need to know is also LG could be changing its firmware between now and Black Friday easily to either help or make things worse, depending on what they think, because they may not be finished with the firmware, right? But so those are your thoughts, Classy. KG, what do you have to add or disagree? Like your impressions of the C2 based on what Classy's talked about? Because I know he has a lot of good measurements, but you're very subjective. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, like first of all, on the topic of the firmware, like when you get it out of the box, definitely update it. Make sure you update it because there was this crucial bug at the beginning of the cycle where it was just over brightening a lot of different things and you were getting these blue like teal hues off of highlights. And so that's somewhat fixed now. I don't think I've noticed that yet. And then like as far as the performance of the C2 goes, at first I really thought it was very similar to the C1, to be honest with you. I compared them back and forth, like with my eyes, because they're fairly close to each other. So I was just looking back and forth, seeing if I seen any differences. I think the C2 might be like slightly better, slightly brighter. And I have to say it's important to note that the C1 that I have currently is 48 inches, so that's going to be dimmer by default. So like, but as far as the picture quality goes, the overall brightness goes, the only thing I noticed where it's like significantly brighter in C2 is going to be the dynamic tone mapping. There's going to be instances where that's a little bit brighter, but I've experienced some bugs with dynamic tone mapping though, where it takes away the highlights. So I don't know if that's working as intended as well. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
Did you pair it with AI Picture Pro? Because that's what I'm seeing is the two pair together. And what I'm thinking is that 2000 zone precision thing that they marketed for Dolby, I
Hmm.
think works in HDR10 too, and they just didn't market it that way. But you got to have both on together.
You might be onto something. So how's that work with game mode though? Same way or?
I have not tried the AI settings in game mode. I
Okay.
imagine that would add input lag.
Yeah.
So
Now, we have this one question that is popping up everywhere. So let's get them all in. It's the same theme. Thank you guys for all these questions, which is the G1 is a little bit less expensive. And should I get the C2 or the G1? What are your thoughts given just overall? And if you recommend getting the C2, what is that use case? But let's hear what you guys got. So we'll start with you, Classy. G1 C2, if they want to buy an OLED, first timer OLED today.
I would say for the G1 specifically, it's kind of the same that it was all last year. Do you want the gallery design and the warranty? Then you get that one. If you don't, save money, get a C1. Or if you're really sensitive to motion or you like all these processing features, things like that, then get the C2. But wait for the price. The price is going to come down a couple $100 soon.
Hmm. Yeah, I kind of share the same thoughts on that, except for I would say this right now, there's currently no reason to buy a C2 over, say, a C1 or a G1. I just don't feel there's enough like separation in terms of picture quality of what you get. It's like maybe I'm not measuring it, but it just doesn't feel like that much of a brightness difference. So it's probably maybe 50 brightness. Like 50 nits is not a lot. So like I've heard Classy say he's got just under 800, and then I've heard what these sets were measuring last year, like around 700, 750. So that's not a
Yeah.
huge difference in my opinion. And then when we're talking about like the gaming performance, it's a little bit better in terms of the dynamic tone mapping, but you're still getting Black Crush if you're not using dynamic tone mapping, and it just feels like there might be even a little bit more Black Crush than last year
Yeah.
without that on. So
Yeah. It's if you're going to keep it in an accurate setting, they're basically the same. And just because the panels are capable of 800 or 700 nits doesn't mean that it's using it. The processor is still deciding where it's sending energy. That's why if it's in that accurate setting, there's essentially no difference in the brightness. It's when you turn on the dynamic tone mapping, you let it use what it wants to use, then you see the brightness difference.
But now I know you still have to test this because you're waiting for over 100 hours.
Hmm.
It's possible that the C2 in its color accurate mode without the dynamic tone mapping, there may be more black crush than the C1, right? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, that's so with the break-in last year, I didn't really see much change in like peak measurements. It's always like down low, your shadow areas brighten up a little bit, like your black level setting. When you first get it out of the box, you might want to put it on like 52, 53, but then after 100 hours, turn it down a click, another 100 hours, turn it down a click, until you get back to 50.
Okay.
That seems to be the case again.
So definitely check back with product video to confirm because not saying that it may be black crush because it's so early, but if you do see it slightly crushing, we got to let LG know to address that because that makes the C1 a great buy if
mm,
LG doesn't address it. But I cannot imagine in a firmware they couldn't address that, right? I mean, this looks like something that they can calibrate at the firmware level. So, but it's kind of cool to see that even though it's a new TV, they still got things they got to fix.
See, to them, it's working as intended, though. They purposely
Or
darken near
that's the
black. Yeah,
response, right?
yeah, that's how they want it.
You're
um,
right. And so for me personally, in your entire review, what I really liked about the improvement is the better cinema motion,
yeah,
less artifacts, jutter, stutter. I mean, this is an ongoing issue with all the TV makers. Motion is really hard overall, especially if we're trying to take a 24p original source content and bring it into a 120 native panel. It's never perfect. It's
Mhm.
always an issue of artifact, soap opera, stutter. In the context of all the TVs available now, where do you rank the C2 guys? Because I know you and Classy and KG, you have differences in terms of what you like for motion, but what are your impressions of the motion compared to all the TVs that you've seen? And this time we'll start with KG because I know I haven't heard about your feel about what motion is. I
Yeah.
know what Classy's is, but what's your motion?
I'm,
What's
I'm
your
a
motion
little
preference?
I'm a little less strict on motion than Classy is. Classy's like
Mm.
probably the super strict one
Mm.
on motion. I think the Sony has the best motion so far. Like I like the motion setting on 2 for that. And in terms of the C2 to the C1, I personally don't like feel there's any like dramatic difference, but I haven't really went and tested motion to the extent that Classy did yet. So, um, like overall, I think that as long as the motion is smooth, that's all I care about. I don't mind a little bit of soap opera, but I know Classy's like any hint of soap opera, he's done. He's like, nah, get it out of here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Classy's definitely the motion aficionado for that one.
And well, speaking of that soap opera, I think this is why I like this Sony Uni is Classy is that you get to eliminate max judder slash stutter with barely any notice of the soap opera.
Mm.
Has the C2 achieved that middle ground? What are your thoughts in comparison to the best of Sony TVs?
Yeah. So with the ADJ, like I said, I could use smoothness at 1. 2 for me was too much. It was just a big jump for me. So at 1 on the ADJ, it was less aggressive with smoothness and soap opera than the C1 with D-Judder at 1, and that's a 10-point scale. Like the C1 just makes this really big 0 to 1 jump. The C2, it's like it really opens that up and breaks it down. So I would say about D-Judder 2 on the C2 looks to be similar to smoothness 1 on the Sony. And then it's to me it's like the perfect scale now because you have from 1 to 4 on the LG where you have either no or very little soap opera effect. And then once you hit 5, then that's basically like Sony's 2. And then it keeps going. So, and then I'm sure you could see in the video how awful the artifacts were on the C1, and how even just at 1, the artifacts were as bad as the C2 at like 7.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great reminder for everyone who is looking at the S95B or Sony's new QD OLED. How long did it take LG to finally get the motion to where we could say, you know what, LG's, let's say, caught up to Sony? What, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years? And so we're going to see similar issues, right?
Someone's at
With
the front
the
door.
someone's at the front door. We're going to see similar issues with these first generation TVs. I mean, we don't know what it is. It could be motion, it could be shadow detail, who knows? But for LG to take that long to do something that someone else did faster, it just tells you every company has a different focus. Their engineering team does something differently. So it's kind of cool to see LG's finally gotten there, but then it's many generations before your TV gets to where it needs to be. But overall, as a C2, what are your guys' thoughts or intentions with the C2? Is this something that, I'm okay with my G1? It's not going to replace. Where does C2 now fall in the list of desirable OLEDs that are available for sale?
Uh, it's in a hard spot when at launch because of the
Mm.
price. Like
Yeah.
it, how much the processing matters. I mean, it's funny because every year now processing is our biggest improvements, but at the same time, people want panel improvements. They want more brightness. They want more shadow detail. They want whatever that affects like general every scene that they see. And with OLEDs, you don't really get that. I mean, if you have a C9 and you look next to a C2, they're not going to be that much difference other than the processing. So it's still like I would say get a C1 while it's cheap, and then once
Yes.
they're gone and the C2 comes down, then get a C2 and you get some minor improvements. If you already have a C1 or a C10, there's no point in upgrading unless you're going bigger, and then just probably go for the G2 so you get an even bigger jump.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of like on the same side on that one because like if you're looking at the prices of the C1, the 55 inch is 1099. Like, get out of here. That's a really good deal. Like, I couldn't even imagine. There's a 700 difference, a $700 difference right now between the C1 and the C2 at 55 inches. And for that, like, that's crazy. And so I wouldn't pay that difference. The G2, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really speak on that. But I think the G1's a really good deal, too. What? So 1399 for the 55 inch. That's $300 more than the C1 is, and then you're gonna get the 5-year warranty. And so, from what Classy's saying, other than like a couple motion improvements and then dynamic tone mapping, the G1 and the C2 are pretty identical in what they do. And so, for that, I'd probably go with the G1 right now if I'm buying and mounting on the wall. That would probably be where I go with that. And the processor from last year to this year, it might be better, but like in terms of detail, in terms of sharpness, I'm not noticing much.
Yeah, same. That's I was gonna say that's the one area that they still have to catch up to Sony
Yes.
is the reality creation. So if you're someone who uses reality creation, then you get that extra detail. Now, if you don't, you turn it off, you don't like that, then go at the. I mean, there's no real reason not to just go for the LG now, especially if you're gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this brings in a good point about people who are Sony fans because of whatever their unique motion and whatnot. Because we normally say, well, if you're coming from a non-OLED, this is a great time to get into an OLED. Unless you're coming from a non-OLED Sony, where you're used to Sony's motion, the only time to not go to Sony would be when you get the C2, because if you go to the C1 getting your first OLED, you may be distracted by the motion, right? The issues with motion. So definitely that's something to consider as well. Watch the reviews where they go into the details on what's important to you. You may not know the motion's important to you until you get the C1 or G1. Wait a minute, this is an OLED, but I see the motion artifacts. Do you guys jump from one brand to another knowing which brand, or what is actually, let's get to that. What is your preference in terms of overall brand? If we take gaming out, because I know gaming, let's just talk about the LGs and get out of the way. But if it's just streaming and movie watching for most people, do you guys have a favorite brand that you kind of always know and trust that, you know what, it fits my preferences, I'll just get this brand?
Um, I would say up to this point, Sony with movies had four real advantages. They had targeted brightness for the highlights. They had smooth gradation or less posterization banding, the motion, and then the sharpness, clarity, and detail. LG addressed three of them, uh, with the motion coming close but not quite.
Mm.
The clarity, detail, whatever that they didn't do anything about, at least not that we've seen.
Mm-mm.
Targeted brightness, if you use the AI stuff, seems to be what Sony does now. And then the smooth gradation, I would say that caught up.
Okay.
So overall, just movies and TV, I'd still lean towards like an A80J 77, especially at the lower prices. Because I mean, I would still put the motion just a hair better, and then you do get reality creation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, KG, I
Mm-hmm.
know I hear you complimenting Samsung and then Sony. And so for you, you actually have a lot of brands that I
Yeah.
see you like. But if you were to choose one brand, which one would it be?
Yeah, I mean, so you're spot on with that. Like, I like all three top brands. Like LG, Samsung, and Sony, they do everything really good. Like, there's some weaknesses there, but in terms of like specialty, I think Samsung and LG is probably some of the top ones for gaming features in terms of like the game bar, the game optimizer. That's all getting great this year. Like what Samsung did with the game bar this year, where you can have 5 different presets and then go into your expert settings and it saves your expert settings presets. Like it even saves your white balance and stuff from those. So I think that's kind of crazy. Like it just goes in depth and saves all your settings for the presets for game mode. So that's cool. I love to see improvements on that front. And then
Yeah.
for like movies and TV, like just pure image quality, it's gonna be Sony. Like the Sony A80J still is going to be the best clarity like screen that I have in here right now, and I have four back here right now, and I think the A80J is just killing them. So
And it's a great time to introduce a rant. Hey, Samuel Galindo, thank you for the super chat. quick vent. Best Buy's 2022 here launch has been a disaster. Fake discounts, no stock, no help from support. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know
Okay,
what's up with that.
ran over. And did you guys see this? I mean, what,
Yeah,
what do you
I
think?
see it.
Is this just Best Buy or is everyone doing this? What are your thoughts on Sam's rant about the 2022 launch? And I think it's kind of been weird among everyone, but yeah, KG, start with you.
Yeah,
What are you thinking of these craziness?
it's wild. I have no idea what's going on. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, is Best Buy going out of business or something? Like, what's going on? This is so weird. And so the thing that makes it even weirder for me is just like last month I had the Best Buy right next to my house that I used to work at closed down. So like it's no longer there. And so I'm just like, what's going on with Best Buy? Are they struggling? Like they just closing stores now? Like what is going on? Because they haven't had any like sign of TV shipments lately. I know the QN90B, like that was there for a couple seconds, and you're lucky if you got it. And so, like, I don't know what's going on with their shipments or what.
What gets me is they keep adding the listing for the new TVs before they have them available, and then they put in this artificial discount.
Yeah.
It's like they're just dragging you along, and then as soon as it comes into stock, discount's over. It's like they're putting on a timer of the discount's going to last 3 days, but that's also the day we're going to get it, so you're not going to get the discount. And
Mm-hmm.
that seems shady to me. Also, if you didn't know, they're phasing out the Elite and Elite Plus
Yep.
program, so
Yep.
no more extended warrant or extended return period unless you have the Total Tech membership.
Yep.
That's one way to get you into Total Tech. So thank you for telling everyone that. So the Total Tech membership is what, $200 a year,
Yep.
and with that you get a few things. And now we're getting, was it early releases? So basically, if you want to get PS5, Xbox Series X, just a chance to even buy it at all, forget any discounts. You have to be a Total Tech member, or the RTX 3000 series, just anything that's desirable, even a camera, right? Or if you want the late return window, right? Normally it's 30 days, but
Mm.
45 days, no question. And I'll tell you, I returned was it a lens I didn't like? And it was an open box.
Mm.
And he was about to hassle me. He goes, all right, I go, oh, wait, you're a Total Tech member? Oh, never mind. And he walked off. I'm like, what? You're going to hassle me before you
Yeah.
checked if I was a Total Tech member? But it looks like they're being, I mean, I don't want to say this conspiracy, but they're being told to, hey, if they're Total Tech, just do whatever. If they're not,
Yep.
hassle them, and then say, but if you were a Total Tech member, it would have been hassle free. And I just see that from a mile away. And I like it because it is cheaper for me to use them. They come by and they fix my dryer and washer, but I can't back this kind of shady marketing
Mm.
tactics. It's kind of crazy. So did you guys end up buying or getting your TVs direct from the Samsung site then? Because I know you were saying the Q90B inventory is just this.
Uh, I live near a Best Buy warehouse, and
That's still
so
open.
Mm.
yeah, and they got the QN90B. It was similar to last year, where everything comes there like a week before it ends up
Oh,
in the
right,
stores.
right. Oh, it's like a
Um,
distribution warehouse
yeah,
that for the area. Oh,
yeah.
great. Right, right.
So I can do that. I don't know how I feel about ordering direct from Samsung or things like that, and I've had bad issues with Amazon. So I have the Total Tech thing at Best Buy. If you're an Apple user, when I got the MacBook, like you get the Apple protection or whatever for that. You get TVs have warranty during the period that you have Total Tech. If you get a phone from there and you drop it or whatever, they replace things like that. So the $200 is kind of ridiculous if you're not going to take advantage of that stuff. But if you do, then it's a good deal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I take full advantage of it, so that's why I use it. But us, right? I mean, we're
Mhm.
regularly buying TVs, and we find stuff, we return it. What are your thoughts on the whole Total Tech membership and what Best Buy is doing? I mean, you don't have one close to you anymore, but what are you doing with short inventory? You buying direct or from Best Buy, KG?
Yeah, like so in terms of Total Tech, I think it's kind of a scam. Like not a scam, but like I used to work there, and so I know how hard they made us push it, and for some people it's worth it. Like you said, like what you were doing is totally worth it, and if you can back that up, then yeah, it's gonna be worth it for some people. But for people who just want a longer return period, I can't justify us paying $200, or just early releases. That just feels so
Right.
bad. So I don't know, man. Total Tech just feels somewhat scummy, like you're mentioning. It just feels bad.
Right.
In terms of where I'm getting my TVs, right now I got like some TVs from Amazon, and then Samsung. I got the QN85B from. Um, the QN90B is
Okay.
from Samsung or from Amazon. So far, Samsung seems pretty good to deal
Okay.
with. Yeah.
Here's a great super chat from Brian. He has a 75-inch Z9J, and now the Z9K is coming out, mini LED. Should I upgrade? And I'll just start off with no, do not upgrade, mostly because you're paying a whole lot more for that swing and difference. And
Mm,
yes, the Z9K is probably better, but just wait another 2 or 3 years because that Z9K will be even better in 2 or 3 years, whatever they call it, because this is Sony's first stab at mini LED, and I'm sure it'll look good, but where will it be in 2 or 3 years? We saw what it takes to get it perfect, right? And mini
mm,
LED, it is Sony's first rodeo when it comes to this. So I'd say for Brian, wait, enjoy your 75-inch, wait 2 or 3 years. You're not going to get a swap, and you're not going to be able to sell it for anything really. So what are you guys thinking for
yeah.
Brian? What should he do?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend any first gen mini LED. Like, look at Samsung.
Mhm.
They're one of the best in the business with LCDs, but the improvement from the QN90A to the B is undeniable.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy.
I would wait.
Yeah, it's such a wild jump from the QN98 to the B. It's like so far that's the biggest jump I've seen from TV to TV from year to year
Hmm.
in a while. And so like yeah, the first year tech for mini LED, it just feels like mini LED is good. It's really good on like straight on. It's probably one of the better technologies when it comes to LCD. But like if you're watching it off angle, and so he has to think of this now is like if he's off angle at all, he's got to factor that into his decision because you're gonna get off angle blooming, and it doesn't look great to be honest with you. And so
Yeah. And this is such a great point about the Q90B. And what makes me a little upset is we both know that's processing of software.
mm-hmm.
I think they could have done the same with the Q90A at the end of the day. Oh, and I forgot
Yeah.
to ask you guys, is it confirmed that Q90B has less dimming zones than the Q90A? I mean,
Yeah.
I have the A, I don't have the B, but is it
Yeah, the A
official?
was at 65 was 44 by 18.
Uh-huh.
This year it's 40 by 18. So it's a 10% reduction plus a faster processor, but the combination is what makes those zones transition so much faster. It's
Right.
you'll see it right away.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
So
the 55 inch is the same.
yeah, different sizes might be the same,
Yeah,
but at
Okay.
but
65 it's less.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't think they're doing this to save money. I think it's whatever
Mhm.
whoever the supplier is, give me your max zones for 65 inch. Okay, great, we'll take it. Because come on, they're not saving $10 on a couple of zones, I think. All right, Gary, thank you for that super chat. Hey, Green Toe now has the C1 at 1500 or the G1 at 2000, or wait for the C2 to G and G2 to go down in price. What would you do if you were Gary?
If you buy from Green Toe, you're not going to get the G1 warranty. So I would
Mm-hmm.
go either the C1 or wait for the C2, G2 to come down in price.
That is interesting. Let's repeat that. I did not know this. So if you buy from Green Toe, G1 will not give you that longer panel warranty.
Mhm. Yeah, you have to buy from an authorized retailer.
Ah, okay.
And that includes the standard 1 year warranty. So anything you buy won't have manufacturer warranty. So you're going to have to buy extended warranty through like Upsy or something if you want that.
Yep.
Got it.
That's for the promos too. So if there's ever like a promo that LG's doing, it has to be an authorized dealer.
Mm-hmm.
So then I guess you're saying wait for the C2 G2 to go down in price. Then, well, I mean, okay, I'm very conservative with something so expensive. I don't like the fact that returns and warranties will not be honored to save a couple of hundred. That's not worth it to me. But that's a really good question. Is normally, what do you suggest to your viewers when they could save a few hundred on Green Toe, but then lose a lot of the consumer protections that come with the warranty? What is your approach to Green Toe?
I mean, you can get the C1 from an authorized dealer for what, 17, something like that, right now. So I would just do that.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the independent retailers are trying to clear out too. So like video only, and I'm pretty sure Valley Electronics probably trying to clear out some stuff too. So like,
Mhm.
if you could find an independent retailer like that, now's the best time to buy a 2021 TV.
Agreed, agreed. And here's something for you, Classy. Thanks for that super chat, Vamps. Classy, I got a 5.2.2 audio setup coming and buying and is doing install and
Yeah,
all
that's
Def Tech. I do like Def Tech and I love the 5.2.2. I think point 2 for Atmos gets you 90%, 99% there, really.
mhm.
And two subwoofers. So, boy,
Wow.
Vamps, this is quite an
Mhm.
upgrade.
Yeah,
I
and
like it. Go ahead.
That's awesome.
yeah, I have a 5.1.2 set up as well. So yeah, I mean that's to me, it's like you get 80% there for much like you to go up that anymore, you got to pay way, way more. It's just
Yeah,
not worth it.
way, way more. And really, the rear channels, Atmos has nothing back there. Now, if you matrix it and your processor can add stuff there artificially with Oral 3D or whatever, but native Atmos mix, honestly, there's nothing happening in the rear right there. So those are things. I got to get the point four set up.
Mhm.
Point two is good if you're on a budget and if you have the money, whatever, right? But yeah, I had a 5.1.2 also with a Denon X34 3500. I can feel the Atmos fine, and it's not a problem. You guys, what's your setup, KG? Or are you waiting to get a setup?
I'm waiting down the line to get a setup because right now, my current situation, I can't have anything better than a soundbar. Otherwise, my neighbors are just gonna hate me. So, yeah, I'm just rocking with the Sonos Beam. Anything bigger
Okay.
than that just seemed to kind of cause some issues. So I was like,
Now,
nah, I'm good.
Sonos Beam,
Hmm.
great. This year, and I know you're a Samsung fan, they're coming out for the first time. Any soundbar, complete Wi Fi Atmos connected to the TV, where the TV is now generating the Atmos. So this is a
Oh,
Samsung 2022 TV. You got the soundbar working with the panel, and
okay,
then you have the satellite, but it's wireless, not Wi Fi, wireless, all working together with a wireless sub,
yeah.
all receiving Atmos. Would you consider that? Because that is, I think, pretty impressive, and it's room calibration included as well. What are
So
your thoughts
wait,
with that?
are you talking about Q Symphony or
The
just you can
this
use
year's
it?
Q Symphony, yeah,
Okay,
this year's Q Symphony soundbars.
all right. So it's still Samsung soundbars.
It's Samsung,
Okay,
and with Samsung TVs, you can go complete wireless. They're kind
yeah.
of doing the Sony thing, but now you
Hmm.
still have the soundbar, but the satellites are wireless,
Right.
and it's coordinated by the soundbar and the TV together.
And you don't have to
Are
use
you
that
tempted?
that wire to hook it up, right? um, but yeah, no, I think that's a really good solution for people if they have a Samsung TV. I've heard that Q Symphony is good. I haven't tried it out for experience yet. That's something I'm looking to try out this year. But for the most part, like everybody that I've talked to is really impressed with the way Q Symphony is.
Hmm.
So
Can I change
why not?
subject for a minute? Can we talk quality of life differences between Samsung, LG, and Sony?
Yes, go
Sure.
for it.
Yeah,
That's important.
So
it's really good.
the A80J for me, I had like essentially no CEC issues or anything other than it drops audio with the Xbox 120 hertz, but that's all the Sony's. So, but my Sony remote, I bought the A90J remote. It controlled everything, did volume on my receiver just fine. All I had to do was just hit input, and then it would show everything that's in my receiver, and all good. Uh, the Samsung was a nightmare. The QN90A was a
Mhm.
nightmare. Uh, every time I would try to turn it on, change to a different input, whatever, it would just turn on the Blu-ray player for no reason and switch to it. The QN90B didn't do that, but the way they
Okay.
change their menu and there's no
Oh
input
god.
button on the remote, you literally have to hit home, left, down, right, like to change your input. It was
Mhm.
nuts. And then it did not, the remote would not work with the shield remote wouldn't work with any, like it was also not very good. The C2, I got no problems. It detects everything. It's all the CEC stuff works as you'd expect. The TV remote controls the volume at like good speed, not like slow like some. But what's funny is
Mm.
the person who bought my 80J is now having CEC issues with his
Mm.
soundbar, and I know KG has that
Yeah.
problem.
I was gonna
So
say that. I was like, I have the total opposite problem you got,
yeah,
because I don't have any problems on the Samsung TVs, not once. from to this day. And then like the Sony A80J is giving me so many issues with CEC and my Sonos Beam. So it's like I don't know what's going on with that. I had to like reset it a couple times. I had to do the HDC PP lockup or something like that, where you had to remove all the HDMI cables and then plug it back in. So I had to deal with that. And yeah, for the most part, the LG TVs, I don't have any CEC issues yet. So they're doing
Yeah,
something
same.
right there. And
Okay. So this is no, and this is very related because
yeah.
I think for many of us, including me, when you get a TV, you want it to work. You don't want to spend 15 minutes. So if you were to choose just one ecosystem, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
talking UI, the remote, and you're just watching, you just want to freaking watch Netflix or HBO Max, right? Forget the image quality. I mean, we
Yeah.
assume you're paying 2,000, it's good. Which remote interaction OS would you choose if
Well,
that's what you're basing your decision on?
yeah,
You
but
got Samsung,
mm-hmm.
LG, Sony, and let's throw in TCL, Vizio, Hisense because we've had them all. Which
Yeah.
one would you guys choose for quality of life?
Can we take the Vizio out?
Yeah, I just
Yeah, like I can't. That
obviously
smart
wide open,
cast.
just
Oh my
whatever.
gosh.
Roku,
Yeah,
right? This is the
I think
Roku.
LG is the safer bet as far as compatibility with most devices, from what I personally have experienced and heard from other people. I know there's a few here and there that sometimes have issues, but for the most part, it seems LG is the most stable.
Yeah,
Okay.
before this year, before I don't know why they did this. Uh, Samsung would have been like far and away the choice, but like I don't know what they did with the QN90B and the QN85. Like, what did they do with the
Mhm.
UI? It's just the stupidest design. Like, I'm just gonna say it. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, why would you change? I get it. I know why they changed it. It's for ad space, right? So that they can get more ad revenue, and you see all those things.
You
But I'm
nailed
telling
it.
you, Classy
And
is spot
NFTs.
on. Yeah, NFTs too.
NFTs.
And it's Classy is spot on. Like you try to change your input on that TV, impossible. Like you have
Hmm.
to do a contra cheat code to change your input. And it's like I don't
Hmm.
even know.
And,
Contra cheat
I
and it's
couldn't even
code.
so
figure it out.
slow. Like
It's slow,
you end
yeah.
up hitting the button too many times, and all of a sudden it just flies across the screen, and then you got to
That's
backtrack, or you hit
yeah,
the
There's
wrong thing.
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot of
No,
bugs
that
with it right now. Yeah, for sure.
so LG then KG. I mean, so let's
I
say
mean,
we've
I
limited for
guess, yeah.
2022 everywhere, right? Before
Right.
that, 2021 is fine. For 2022, does it look like LG is taking the lead?
I suppose LG's WebOS, it's still a bit clunky. It's faster than last year, but like the pointer, sometimes you either love it or hate it. I used to like it better when they had the bird, so that's
The
just
bird.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna say that. Bring back the bird. But
Bring
in
back the
terms of
bird.
all jokes aside, in terms of like the actual like WebOS, it's not bad. It's
It's
not
Okay.
much
bad.
faster this year.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
like Sony too. Like the Google OS is okay. It's just the problem is there's so many bugs. You
The
know,
CEC HDMI
yeah,
handshake. Yeah, they need to fix that. Honestly, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and some of
Oh
the
no,
apps
I agree.
crash a lot too.
Mhm.
So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Here's a question for Classy from Samuel. Thanks for the super chat. Hey, Classy, does GSR also increase the brightness on the G1?
Yeah, so it's more specifically for gaming, and it's pretty much like tied in with like the logo detection. So if you're in a game and you stand still for a little bit and you go test out the logo detection and how much it dims when you change the settings, it's the same thing. You go in the service menu, it keeps the image in the background, and then you can toggle GSR on and off and then see that it brightens up again a little bit more, puts it back to normal. So it's like a behind the scenes extra setting for ASBL kind of thing. And I know that some people have had issues with like dark Dolby Vision scenes where you have to disable TPC and GSR in the service menu to get that to stop.
hmm
And
So,
for
but yeah,
those who are
that's all
wondering,
of
what
them.
does GSR stand for exactly? For those who
Uh,
are not in the
I,
know.
I don't know the exact acronym,
Okay, but
but
it's a service
it's
menu setting.
there's many forms of
Hooray!
dimming. So like when you hear ABL, a lot of people use that because it's a common acronym, but there's so many different types of dimming with OLEDs. It's usually not ABL that someone's talking about.
Turn up the volume. Okay.
Come on, KG, what's
Uh,
happening over there?
oh, and we did miss the other difference
Yeah.
from the C2 and the C1 that I didn't see on your notes was the color gamut, color volume
Mm.
improvement.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So hit it. What is? Oh wait,
Well,
before
hey,
we go on,
yeah, I was gonna say,
here.
at some point, take
Hey,
a
Brent.
breath, and then I'll say hi.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys?
What's up,
Sorry,
man?
I'm late.
Hey.
I thought we were doing it at 11:30, so my bad.
Well, you know, I'm in Los Angeles. You're in San Diego.
It's the same time zone. I shouldn't be confused.
Now you wake up a little later there, right?
I've been up
Right,
since
right.
like 6
Oh,
a.m.
We
yeah.
wake up. We wake up later in San Diego, right?
No,
Yeah.
I already. I mean, come on, man. I already took the kids to school. I already went to the store. We've been editing my video for 2 hours. I just sitting in here. I'm like,
we call it the injury
yeah.
delay. It's okay.
That's even getting better. I have a
yeah.
boot, so I can walk on it now. So I have
Oh,
like
that's good.
well, it's a cast, but I have like a Nike shoe over it or something.
Right.
It's like a padded shoe. So because I was crushing the cast. What's going on though? Hope everyone is doing well. Sorry, I just wanted to say hi, and then feel free to keep going on with what you guys were talking
Oh
about.
yeah, we were just talking color volume. We've got to talk
Yeah.
about that. So Classy, you're saying color volume on the C2 is noticeably, or actually, you talked about gamut. Let's talk about the gamut first. You said there was more red. Is it in SDR you saw that, or HDR? Is this more color volume? Let us know.
In BT 2020, last year, every WRGB, whether it's Sony or LG that I measured, was somewhere around 69 to 72%, 70 being most common. This one's just shy of 75% for BT 2020 coverage. And it is a visible difference when you got reds and greens that are in HDR on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, could this be a processing improvement, or is the deuterium actually working? Is it the panel lottery where if you get the new E panel and not the C panel, and I don't know, this is all speculation, so everyone, calm down. We're just wondering, what is the difference between C2 and C1 where you get the color gamut, which is significant?
If I have to guess, I would just say that they're comfortable enough with the new panels that they're pushing the color subpixels more instead of leaning as much on the white. That's my guess.
Okay. Well, you heard it. If you want a little bit more color, then there's always the C2. And now, Brandon, are you planning to get the C2? Or are you going for the G2? Are you getting both? What are your plans for the LG C2?
I have a 83-inch already on its way.
That's the C2, 83-inch.
Yeah, sorry, the C2. The G2 is not available. I can't get the G2 yet. But I will.
Okay.
I'm going to do videos on all of them. So, yeah.
No, I think you missed this part where we were ranting about the decline of Samsung's remote UI. I mean, last year it was working. This year it appears to be a mess. And the consensus is Samsung, because you added crypto NFT, because you're adding ads, you've destroyed the whole quality of life. Have you experienced that with your QN90B, Brandon?
No, I mean, it wasn't that big a deal. I mean, I got used to the menu pretty quickly. It was just like when you hit the home button, you just go to the left and you can get to the settings. It's pretty quick. Or you can just hit it twice, or like hit the button and up and you get to settings, you get to other things. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a huge fan. I like the way that LG and Samsung had the pop-ups, but you know, they're gone now. So it is what it is. But it's kind of like, I do like on the Sonys and other ones where when you're like watching a movie and then you go to like the homepage, it's like there it is where like you left off at that movie, or like sometimes it brings up like the NCAA basketball games. I'm like, oh, that game's on right now. So it has some intuitive stuff, but you know, I mean, I haven't noticed any huge difference. I mean, I think the remote is fine too. I like the Samsung remote. Yeah, I've always liked it though. So, you know, I've liked that, but
I like it. I just wish it had an input button.
Yeah.
Like, it is dumb that it doesn't have that. That's true. If it doesn't have an input button, it should have to just have the inputs very quickly to get to. That's true. That's true. Do you think they can fix something like that with firmware? Just kind of be like, oh, make it smarter. Just put like a, you know, on the left side where it's like media and all that, they should just have inputs or something.
Well, like on the settings bar, they used to have an input button. Like when you pulled up the home screen on last year's Tizen, it was like inputs was right there. And now it's like you kind of have to find it. Like it is kind of a pain, it's kind of that's the part that we don't like about it mostly is the switching the inputs. Just feels like
no, that is true, because I was trying to mess. I'm like, I remember that now. Looking around, I'm like, how the hell I get to like the Apple TV? I gotta find it. It's like
they want you to use the app, but I don't know. I use my TV once or twice. I'm not going to pull up my phone every day to do that.
The apps are worthless. All the GUIs do this too. Like, same thing with Sony. Like, I don't know. I've had some issues with Sony trying to change inputs, and it's like things change every time they do a firmware update. It's like I can't get things to stay the same.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, I do appreciate that they made the multi-view a lot easier now. Like they added like way more functionality to multi-view and how to make that work. So
Yeah, it was
I
a
think
little
that's
sketchy the
more
first
clear.
time. Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
it
It
was
was a
like kind of
little.
hard to figure that out the first
Yeah.
year.
And it's like they did redesign the remote because it did
Mhm.
remove the hump off the back and things, and they added that Disney Plus button. Well, they could have taken some of that money Disney gave them and used that to add one more button for input.
Right.
Yeah.
The input. I agree with the input. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, Vamps, thanks for that super chat, my friend. Classy. What would you do S95B versus A95K in terms of cinema / PS5 gaming stuff hooked into an OnCue R6100? I need to downsize for audio upgrade, which I am fine with. Okay, Classy, help out Vamps here.
Right, so he has a 83 A90J right now, and he's been talking about selling it and getting one of the QD-OLEDs. To me, if you're gaming, I just default to the Samsung here because
Yeah.
the QN90B has like all the features, everything's great. The only problem is you know because of the local dimming gets reduced in gaming, and then there's like some color gamut issues with it in gaming. I don't see those being any problems at all in the S95B being QD OLED. So I think the S95B and the G2 are going to go head to head for best gaming TV this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And just real quick, Manny, that's one of the improvements. He was wondering what motion improvement we're referring to the C2. If you watch Classy's video, he has a very clear explanation of what he saw has improved. But generally, the C2 cinema motion is better, less artifacts. But definitely check out his video to see exactly what is improved. Because if you don't care, if you didn't notice there were motion issues with the C1 or other LGs to begin with, you may not appreciate those improvements.
Yeah, it's like in a general scene, you're not going to really see a difference. It's in the panning scenes, there's much less judder, even with all the settings turned off. And then if you do turn the settings on, some of the more, like I got to go back to, was it Army of the Dead and try that and see what it looks like. But the artifacts are way, way lower.
And nobody talk, and this is something that's true. We don't ever talk about this. I don't talk about it for a reason, but LG's LCD TVs, we're talking about the QNEDs or the non-QNEDs or the nano cells. What do you guys all think about LG's non-OLED TVs?
They make good color grading monitors.
Wow.
And that's the end of
Yeah,
that.
so,
How about you, KG?
I got something to say about the QNED stuff. Like, so this was said last year that QNED was going to be mini LED, right? That was like one of those things they were talking about. Now they have these QNED edgelit TVs. So you have to be really careful with that.
Oh, that's true. Last year, all
yeah.
QNED was all mini LED. Now it's,
Yep.
oh, yeah.
It's so weird, the branding. I don't understand it. But I didn't get a chance to see the QNED 90. I know you saw the QNED 99 B, and then I know Classy, you saw the 90. And you said pretty much it was pretty good straight on,
Yeah,
but like from the off
exactly
angle, it falls
straight on.
apart. And that's how I feel about the QN85B. But I actually felt like the QN85B like surprised me so much. So I don't know if I'm missing something on the QNEDs. Or...
The QN85 A and B are both. I would imagine the B is the same, but the A was far better. I would take the QN85A over the QNED 99. I preferred that. Like I preferred, it was bright. It was a little off on the side reflection, but it like the QNED had like, it was a disaster. And I could see that straight on. I could see blooming. So I think the QN85A, and so I would imagine the B is similar. That I would definitely prefer that over the LG. The Nano or the QNED TVs, they seem like a hodgepodge of all the problems I don't like. Blooming, they seem not as bright. They seem like they have a ton of DSE, and it's just a mess. Like I don't like it. I don't like them. So that's my opinion, I guess.
Here's a kind of a good question. So I'm not familiar with the input lag options, but I know Classy and KG, you've been testing gaming on the new 2022s. So here's a question. Doesn't the 2022 Samsung TVs now have 3 different input lag options? Maybe the dimming works better with one than the other. What are your thoughts on that?
I can talk on this. So all this is it enables your Game Motion Plus in different settings. So if you use the slowest version, what this will do is will default your Game Motion Plus to on, plus the settings that you set for judder and blur reduction. And then if you use the middle one, this will put on your Game Motion Plus, but it'll set your settings to 0 and 0, so it doesn't engage the processing. of the thing. It just engages Game Motion Plus. So that's all it seemed to be doing. And so it's just some extra motion interpolation. So if you like Game Motion Plus, it's just a faster way to activate your last settings for Game Motion Plus, pretty much.
And well, speaking of gaming, guys, C2 color banding in games, is it improved over C1 for those games that I know you guys talked about last year where you saw some color banding? I don't know if you had a chance to check it, but if you did, can you help high def?
Yeah, no, that's
Mhm.
not an issue with the TV. Like all TVs do that. It's when you, especially at 4K 120 HDR, it's gonna be there. Now the thing is with like Sony, smooth gradation setting worked well at removing it.
Mhm.
On the LGs last year, the setting did absolutely nothing. And
Right.
then this year, I'm gonna test that when I do gaming tests later.
Appeared to do nothing again. So
Yeah, so then probably not.
yeah.
The smooth gradation does work in movie mode, but in
Mhm.
game mode, it's changeable, but it doesn't actually do anything.
Yep. Yeah,
That's
they don't.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the games. The games, and then it's up to your TV to have the smooth gradation to fix it.
Alrighty. And well, so we had this earlier discussion, Brandon. So maybe you can share your opinion. If you were to choose one brand, any of the brands, right? If you include everything all in, which TV brand consistently delivers what you're looking for in a TV at flagship level, whatever is your best budget for that TV?
I mean, I probably would say Sony. I don't know. I think that the LG OLEDs are great too. But if I had to just pick, I don't game much. So like I have a C10 and an A90J and I prefer the A90J, you know? So
Hmm.
I don't currently have a C1 any longer. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see what the G2 will do. It'd be cool if it's got the gaming chops and it's just a better overall TV. It'll be cool.
And Cole, good question. I think earlier in our live stream, Class C's been doing some calibration this year of various Sonys and LGs. And Class C, you notice that Sony's not necessarily better out of the box than LG. It's pretty much similar for both brands, right?
Yeah, they both have their own traits. LG does lean towards crushing near black. Sony raises it slightly. So if you want more shadow detail, then Sony out of the box has that. Both of them can be calibrated to basically the same level. And then LG, I would say they probably have a little bit wider of a range for their out of the box white points. Sony, it's usually two different smaller ranges that it could fall in.
Hmm.
And then when it comes to HDR, Dolby Vision, yeah, you normally see LG measure better for those.
Okay. And currently, all the TVs you have in your homes, your studios, your review room, which is your favorite that you would turn to watch movies and streaming? We'll start with you, KG. All the TVs you have right now, which do you turn to
Movies and
watch?
streaming only.
Hmm.
Sony by far. Sony A80J by far. Like
Okay.
just because of the processing alone,
Hmm.
the upscaling. So even in 4K, if the element that you're watching, if you're using a little bit of reality creation, if the element that you're watching has any hint of just a low resolution texture built into it, which that happens in movies, they have low res textures for certain things. It just really depends on where they're sourcing their materials from. But you see this, especially in Netflix shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And so with that kind of stuff, no doubt about it, the Sony processing is just far and away better for movies and TV, in my opinion. Image quality difference is huge. From when I compared the C1 to the A80J last year, side by side, to me it wasn't close when it came to that clarity aspect.
Now, you bring up a good point that I think segues into Classy's, some of his past videos about Sony and maybe Netflix and Dolby Vision. So,
Hmm.
Classy, if you were to choose one of your TVs, which would it be and why?
Yeah, I mean, the 77-inch A80J or the 83 A90J. Uh, pricing wise, I don't see a reason to get the smaller A90s unless like you're just completely restricted on size. But for most people, it's the 77 A80 or the 83 A90. And I mean, you and I were both talking to Stacey Spears, and he explained that when you're streaming content, there's what do you say, 14 different tiers.
Hmm.
So even if you're paying Netflix all the money for the 4K streaming, every 2 seconds, every movie or show is broken up into 2-second segments. So every 2 seconds, it can switch down from tier 14 to 12 to 8 to 13, back and forth, whatever. So you're not getting highest bit rate 4K all the time, and has nothing to do with your own connection. It's just Netflix and how they're providing it to you. So every time it drops, most of the time, most people won't see it. But when it does, like those are times where having reality creation or the noise reductions turned on auto on the Sonys, like it helps to mask that and clean it up.
Yeah,
All right.
let me add to what I was saying about the Sony. If you're not a fan of film grain, like the Sony can really clean that up.
Yeah.
Really clean that up. So
Yeah, I agree with that too. And well, here's something. We should all four of us be here on more often because Shango would reward us. Wow, FOMO,
Yeah.
Brandon, Classy, and KJ. My day off got a lot better seeing you guys stream. Add Brian and check out Dad and party and maybe even bigger super chat, right? Question. Okay, is the old saying still true? LG for gaming and Sony for movies. So LG for gaming, I still think is true, but is Sony for movies still the wisdom here, guys?
Yeah, but I would say LG has closed like maybe it was a 4-point difference last year, maybe it's a 2-point difference this year. Like they closed that gap.
I don't really like justifying one or the other for gaming and just movies because I honestly, dude, I love the Sony for gaming, and it's just really the dimming thing that can maybe bother you, and I don't see that much. And so if you're playing a game with like static UIs, then maybe you're gonna run into that from time to time. But I mean, I guess if you have to choose, then maybe LG is gonna be more all around better for competitive gaming. There's no doubt about it. The input lag is gonna be better on it. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that, but I don't like making the blanket statements like that too much.
I don't know if you just saw that, but the C2 just put up an ad on the screen on content that's playing from my Shield. I don't like that.
No. There's a lot of shenanigans there with the C2 I've been noticing.
All right, Brandon, how about you? Do you have any wisdom of always Sony for movies, LG for gaming, or you don't care? You just do whatever.
Oh, I mean, I think that so. Yeah, even though I was like pretty high on the QN90B, which I am, and I think it looks cool. It's like if I had to choose one TV to watch a movie on, I would still choose my A90J. I feel like it's got the speakers are better, the picture, the quality is better. Like some people had commented that like people's skin tones like look really good on the A90J, just like the different shades of colors and stuff are just beautiful, and you don't always need the brightness, but when we had a bunch of kids over, they were like all mesmerized with the QN90B for gaming. They wanted to play on that one over my A90J because they were right next to each other. So when we had Call of Duty connected to the PS5 on that, they were just like loving it because it was so bright, and it's just like vibrant. And I didn't notice, like, we messed around with the settings, but like it seemed like it looked quite good. We didn't use VRR or anything, but it's looked awesome for gaming. And they were playing Call of Duty. It was moving pretty fast,
That makes sense. This is a pretty good question because we're all on OLEDs, but how many of you watch hockey, or specifically thinking about buying my first OLED? But I watch a lot of NHL hockey in a relatively bright room, so we're talking probably some kind of a dimming issue. Should this deter me? What are your recommendations, guys, for Jonathan, who watches a lot of NHL hockey? What TV, which OLED model should he be considering?
LG.
I watch
LG.
Yeah, I watch sports, and I'll tell you, like if you watch hockey, the QLED, like a QN90B, it's bright. I mean, it looks awesome. So, if you want there, like, should it deter me? I don't think, if you watch a lot of hockey, there's a huge difference in those two TVs, but OLED versus QLED for bright screens all the time. But yeah, go ahead, you guys. My bad.
Oh yeah, well he said OLED, so that's the only thing I'm thinking. Like I was gonna say, and if you consider a Samsung or like any sort of LCD, you have to worry about the dirty screen effect with hockey. You really do. Like you're gonna see it on hockey most likely. And so that's the issue. I think for people when they want to watch hockey, they kind of lean towards an OLED, even though it's not as bright. If you can get, say, a G2 or a G1, something bright like that, that might be your best bet. The reason why I say this is because of the logo dimming. Like being able to turn that off on the LG is going to be helping you with maintaining the brightness the whole time. The Sony probably will dim. in that setting?
Yeah, the only difference there is so you can go with LG and it be brighter, but you
Mhm.
have more possibility of pink tint than if you go
Yeah, that's true.
A90J. If you go A90J, you're less likely to see pink tint. So
That's a very good point. Yeah, because the white, if you're sensitive to pink, and especially if you're off angle, the pink is more obvious. Yeah, good point. This is great super chat. Thank you, Andy Kills You. Let's go back to a little bit of audio here. I heard you talking about Atmos earlier. I always suggest you get rear Atmos speakers when possible. It adds to the sound, and lots of movies use it. So here's my position on that. Definitely there is rare sound, but if you have let's say a 7.2 setup, right? 0.2 being the Atmos, it's the rare in the 7 that's giving you some of that rare sound more than the Atmos, because it's very hard for your ears to distinguish whether it's coming from here or maybe just right there. If you were to break out your Atmos, let's say 7.4, and you were to measure the sound from all, let's say 11 speakers, right? 7 bed and 4 above. The 3 will get the most. Then comes your side, then the top Atmos, and then the rear bed, and last would be the rear Atmos. So it's possible, Andy, that you might be getting rear sound from the rear bed layer. That's what I've been hearing as well. And I think in a recent interview with Gene De La Salle and his team, that's what their recommendation is as well, is before you get the rear Atmos, get your rear bed and then add the rear top last, because that has the least volume output coming out. But if you guys disagree, let me know. Yeah, this is why we're here. Gotta learn.
he did follow up with a little bit more.
Okay. Where is that? Here we go. This is a good one. I can clearly hear the difference between my Q900A without rears and 950A with rears. The best of them is the 4K Harry Potter. Andy, I know I need to put that in and watch that all. And maybe the rears are the bed layer, right? Maybe it's not Atmos after all. But this is a great discussion. I don't know if Sammy's still here, but he is also into the surround and where everything is. Because at the end, if you do have a reference audio system, it's good to know where everything's coming from. Hey, thanks, Sam, for this super chat. Having these 4 dudes together is like having a dream team, except we're not going to lose the Olympics. Just awesome. Could listen for hours. My 5th member would be Brian. Boom, super team. Thanks, Sam, for the support. Brian is so busy now, but we do try to get him on when we can. Right.
Yeah, hopefully Sammy gets his channel going soon. He just went all out on new subs. He's down in 6 hertz range or something, and then is getting the new JVC, the 4100, which is the same as the NZ9 and the NV. So.
And to talk about subs real quick, I know we're mostly for TVs, but for those of you who are thinking multiple subs to get more bass frequency, more of that impact, stack your subs rather than place them evenly, because if you do it evenly, it's to get the even bass, but you're not getting more bass SPL. If you want more bass SPL, you have to stack them or have them right next to each other. Or the best way to get both power and evenness is what we call near field subwoofer. You are literally sitting, I mean, not on it if you could on it, but right next to it, like within inches. If you could place your subwoofers right behind you, one subwoofer will give you the equivalent even bass of 4 and all 4 sides, if that's possible. Otherwise, to equal that level of impact and evenness, you do have to place multiple subs and spend a whole lot of money. So that's what I'm going to do, is do right near field, right behind me, 2 dual 18-inch subs. So I don't have to get the shaking chairs either, because I think it'll shake my body as well. But yeah, that's just something for those of you who want that bass impact you guys can do. Okay. Oh, hey, I know you have to leave, Classy. How much time do we have you for?
Still good for about another half hour or so.
Okay. All righty. And thank you for that super chat. And Trexa. Hey guys, my offer to make you a better logo is free. Still valid. I can post a link for images and chat if you like, and then you can use it. Hey, you know what? if it's free, it's me. Where did that was a quote from a movie. I'm trying to remember what movie it was, but we would never turn down free offers of improving our logo, and we'll definitely give you credit. So normally, what is it? Brandon has Instagram. You send images to Brandon, be the installer Instagram, right, Brandon?
Don't send me stuff. Don't send me stuff. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I might take him up for that. I got Be the Consumers. I got
Yeah,
my new
we're always in
channel
for
coming
you.
out this weekend. So my first video will be launched on Saturday of the Tesla. So I could use a logo.
There
I
you
could use
go.
a Tesla.
Yeah, we
Well,
all need it, right?
Hey, business expense. Got to make
Right.
videos about it.
Hey, Adam, Batman. Hey, wait, Adam West, Batman. Come on.
Nice.
Thanks for the super chat. Thanks, guys. I want the X95K, thinking it's the best of both worlds. Robert said it's OLED on roids. So I'm assuming you mean A95K because X95K is not an OLED.
Yeah.
It is an LCD, but maybe you mean it's an OLED. But what do you guys thought? What are your thoughts on either the X95K or the A95K? Do
Well,
either one represent the best of both worlds?
No, the A95K is the monitor size 4248 with no heatsink. So that's, I'm sure
the
he's talking.
A90K? Yeah, so
That's
It's the A95K, and I think
Oh, sorry,
I think it's
the
going to
A90.
be
A90.
I think people like, I don't know if it's going to be as exciting as everyone thinks it is, but I think it looked awesome. It looked amazing. So it's going to be better than the OLEDs we have currently. So I think it is going to be pretty awesome.
But
Yeah,
yes,
so
about the A95K. right now, right?
A95K. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the
All right,
X95K,
all right.
it'll hardly be, we don't even know if it's going to be as good as the Samsung, QLEDs or
We'll
whatever.
see.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully it will be.
Yeah, the X95K, from what I've seen, the blooming doesn't look too good on it.
From the early videos, yeah, that was a little concerning, but it was off angle, I believe, some of those.
mhm.
And I saw
that's to be expected.
one that was pretty straight on, and it, yeah, and like David Katzmeyer has a pretty good video, and you can see it pretty good in it.
I know which one you're talking about now. Yeah.
So
right. Yeah. And I think, like we've always said, this is Sony's first generation. It's going against Samsung's second generation. If it could be the QN90B, it's almost OLED level, is my opinion. Because I think the QN90B, from what I've heard from both of you guys and from Brandon, that is as close to OLED as you're going to get from an LCD TV. And that's pretty brilliant. Samsung did a great job this year.
And then for the A95K, the QD-OLED, the concerns that I have is the blacks being raised with ambient light and color fringing or chromatic aberration being visible in content.
Especially if you're using it as a PC monitor, right? Because it does use that different pentile subpixel. Yeah, that's a good point.
Or anytime
I'm excited, man.
you have a bright object next to a dark object, you might see it.
And that's
Hey, by the way,
how close are you sitting? Go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to say, hey, smash the like button if we haven't. I see people are slacking on that. Not slacking. I'm just joking with you. But hey, smash the like button. There's 200 people that haven't. Come on now.
Yeah, he did say he's talking about the X95.
The X95.
So the best of both. I see. Okay, so let's talk X95K. X95K immediately for brightness, but darkness like OLED. And if you do like the Sony Motion, the question then is, does the QN90B have the same improvement in motion like the C2 did? How close is the QN90B now to Sony Motion? Because for me, that's what would hold me back from the QN90B if its motion isn't as good as Sony's.
I mean, it's tough. I feel like you can manipulate the motion in it as good as you can in the Sony TVs. I feel like you can get what you want out of it. Although, like Classy and I were talking about, there is some motion interpolation regardless of how much you turn it off. Is that correct? Like, so that is like the downside is you can't get like the purest of pure of like 24 or whatever, 24 piece. So it's like, I think when I compare the Sony and the Samsungs, the top, it's not necessarily, it's more like the definition or the clarity looks a little different. Like the Sony looks better, but I think the motion, I felt like I watched some pretty tough scenes and I felt like I was comfortable watching them in kind of like with more soap opera or less. But, to that point, I let Classy, go further.
Yeah, I couldn't have the Samsung because of the motion smoothing being forced by default. And it's not like it's a lot, but it's enough that in a decent amount of content, I see it enough that it bothered me. I would say LG, like I said, did better at improving the motion this year, having that range of being able to have a little bit of smoothing without soap opera, but you can still go however high you want with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, like
And
if you had a Samsung TV for the last, like maybe the last 5 years, it's pretty much the same in terms of how that motion is added to it.
I thought the Q90A was definitely a jump up over the Q90R in terms of motion. And I don't know if the 90B improved on that, but the 90A, I felt like at a setting, de-judder setting of 3, I was able to eliminate all the judder without too much soap. But I know Classy is sensitive to soap, even at
Yeah.
1, right? You noticed that. But I thought for purposes of Netflix and what I normally watch, 2 to 3 was okay. And I
Yeah.
would have taken 98 just on that.
I
Yeah.
had that similar settings. The problem is I forgot to put that in my review, so I felt kind of dumb about that. I didn't really talk about motion, and I didn't really talk about speakers either. I just kind of like, it was an oversight because I have like so many audio systems connected to stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was like, whoops, I forgot. I got to do a better job of notating all the things I need in the review.
Yeah,
Blame it on
KG,
the
did
video.
did you try the TV speakers on the C2 yet?
Yeah, they're okay. I think they're similar to what the C1 is. I don't know if they're that much of an improvement. I think in terms of like TV speakers, the Sony's,
Oh yeah,
OLEDs
still
are just
better.
like far and away the best.
Yeah, I was
All
gonna say the C1, like anything over like 13, 14 on the volume just hurts my ears and gets tinny. The C2 seems like it can go a little bit better, higher than that. But
Yeah,
it's
see, I
still
didn't.
not on Sony level at all.
Yeah, I felt like they're real similar.
And
The problem
speaking
is,
of,
It might be because I
with the
have it
Sony,
mounted.
Yeah.
the thing that I don't like about the Sonys is that now that like I'm like, oh, they have awesome speakers, but when I connect them to any of these Sony systems, I don't want to use the center as like a speaker. It just, like it's not like working great with these sound
Yeah.
bars and the Sony. I have all 3 sound bars here now. So that's what video I'm doing this weekend is comparing all the different Sony systems. But I'm kind of frustrated that I just think especially when you listen to music, if you want to crank it up, I have to go in and deactivate the TV as a center so that the system, which is much more powerful, can just do its own thing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, agree.
Kind of sucks.
And well, since we're on audio, Vamps TV has a great super chat comment. To add about audio on mine, it's going to be 2 BP9040s, I think those are the DefTechs, a center channel CS9040, and 2 SR9040, then 2 hoppers A90s from DefTech. It's surprising. I went thinking of spending 4K, ended up at 6200, but then I added AV Rack too. Vamps, you know how it is. Once you start upgrading, double your budget, right? That's what it always is.
Wow.
Thanks for that comment. And here's another great super chat here. Okay, first time OLED buyer. Thank you, Learning. Due to prices, in clear opinion, what option would be good for light gaming? 3080 RTX. Okay, so you'd be in a PC gaming, streaming movie videos and streaming apps, C1, G1, or C2, or should he be considering another brand?
So I'm just gonna chime in on the C2 here and the G2. I think since they added their support for 16 by 9 or 21 by 9 and 32 by 9, just like the Samsung did last year, I think maybe that will give it a step up over the C1 or the G1 in terms of recommendations for somebody who has that beefy of a graphics card. Maybe you would want that to like be able to take advantage of that in your TV.
Yeah, I mean, to me, hands down, if it's for your PC, I would say an LG OLED, and then, like you said, with the new ultra wide option, especially because you can position it on the screen, you can move it up and down. That would be a reason to get the C2 or the G2.
Yep.
All right. And I just hear PC gaming, and you have to think the C2. I mean, the latest. You got to go with the latest LG, so that they can give you the latest updates 2 years from now. Because the C1, if there are any updates next year, even the year after, the C1 may not have the processing power, and we know the C2 has better processing, right? You guys noticed that it's a bit more snappy, right? Everything's a bit better. That's all processing, especially the motion. So yeah, because I know you're going to upgrade from the 3080 to the 4080 to the 5080. You need a TV that hopefully you can keep for a little bit longer. All right, and hey, what are you guys' opinions on gaming headsets?
Oh.
I'm not a gaming headset kind of guy, but Series X, PS5 gaming headsets. You guys have any recommendations for that?
I mean, I use HyperX, but I don't really use it that much, to be honest with you. If I play, I just kind of use my phone on the app and put it on speaker mode, and that's it, really.
Yeah,
I
I
just
got
use my sound system.
the Corsair Xbox One because it comes with an Atmos license and it works really good with the Xbox. It's one of the few actually wireless ones, but it doesn't do anything there for the PlayStation. So I think the Steel Series, not the 7P or 9P or whatever. I think it's the X, which is more for the Xbox, but it can work on the PlayStation as well. Is like the only one that really works for both with wireless. Because if you get the P, then you can't get that to work with the Xbox. But then it doesn't. If you get the X version, it doesn't work with Sony's proprietary audio system, but at least it works on the PlayStation.
That makes it very complicated when
Yes.
choosing these things, because then some of them are very PC specific because it has all the benefits of surround or whatever. Yeah, there's just too many formats and incompatibilities. I don't like that at all. Hey Patrick, thank you for the super chat. Hey guys, in your opinion, is the Samsung 98-inch QN98 worth the price when thinking of picture quality? Well, if you're looking at 98 inches, you're really down to only two TVs at
Yeah.
anything that's reasonable, which is the Sony X92J at a couple thousand more, maybe. They're both in the mid 15,000s. So I know Brian prefers the QN98 and the 98-inch size. I haven't seen them both. I can't really say. Definitely catch Brian Whisper Status 74's review. But generally speaking, we're talking Samsung and the Sony X92J as your alternative. What are your thoughts? Is it worth the price to give picture quality?
Chris from Cleveland Plasma, I keep seeing him talk about that Samsung being 10 grand. So maybe reach out to Cleveland Plasma. And at that price, like there's a TCL 98-inch as well that I think he says is like 7 or 8 or something like that. And I think he even said there's like an RCA that's like 6 or something if you really want to save money and just go big. But yeah, for the LCDs of that size, I would go with the Samsung probably. I mean, you're going to have that wow factor of the size. You might as well get the wow factor with the brightness too.
Yep. All right. And here's another super chat. Thanks, Christian Tintos. I have the Samsung Q70 and Q700A soundbar. When I use Apple TV 4K, it loses audio when watching Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever. When the next episode plays, no issue with Tizen, only with the Apple 4K TV. Have you guys seen similar issues on the Apple 4K TV with the Samsung soundbar?
I haven't seen anything like that.
What was the question again? I'm sorry. Can you put it back
There
on?
we go.
Thanks.
Yeah. With the Samsung soundbars, the Q70A or the Q700A, when you use it with the Apple TV 4K, it loses audio watching.
I lose audio on the 4. I lose audio all the time on my Apple. It's just random, like Netflix. So I have to back out. Disney Plus might just be that it's the Disney Plus program, because I have many times I lose audio at Disney Plus, and I just have to back out of what I'm watching and then go back into it, and the audio comes back. So that's my experience, is that most of the time it's Disney Plus. I don't really notice it on a lot of the other stuff. So that, I don't know if that helps. And this is with like Sony TVs and or soundbars. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say try it on the built-in apps and see if it's still doing it. And if it is, then it's either the app or a setting. If it's not, then it's something with the Apple TV.
Yeah, he said he's using it on Tizen and he doesn't have that problem. So it's probably something to do with the Apple TV settings.
And so this is another issue with troubleshooting. Is it the app? Is it internal versus an app that's on Apple TV? Is it Apple TV? Or is it the TV itself? I mean, you got 3 things to troubleshoot. And then is it the cable, which is probably the last thing, but still, it's like too many
Yeah.
things to troubleshoot, and it's a nightmare still, I think.
That's welcome to my previous life as a TV installer.
They're going to call you back, Brandon, it's not working.
Are you
What
kidding
do
me?
do?
20 people a day call me and I have to go do at least 2 or 3 like solves a week. You know, I'm sitting there like just going through all of these steps on like that's why you get a lot of experience doing this because you're literally working with every TV and every like system and your Yamaha receiver to a Samsung TV and why does the eARC not work? And you're going through all these different options, running different cords and yeah. I end up typically, if I don't know the answer, like going to AV forums and or you know going to help areas. You can, if you type in almost the exact thing you're having a problem with, there's always other people that have had the same issue. So you typically can find stuff online. You know.
Okay, so we are going to take a 5-minute last call for questions or comments or whatnot. Thank you everyone for showing up. Going to let people go. It is the middle of the day, and people got things to do, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully this will kind of take you through today's Thursday, into Friday tomorrow. So, speaking of which, let's hear what you guys are doing this week, next week. Why should they tune into your channel? We'll start with you, KG. What's happening in your world? What new TV reviews are you doing in the coming weeks?
Yeah, so I have a LG C2 unboxing first impressions video probably tomorrow. And then I'm streaming tomorrow as well at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So stop by if you guys are available. And then I would say, I don't know, probably going to do a C2 versus C1 side by side sometime soon. I still got the QN90B versus QN85B proper side by side to do. And then if you guys haven't seen it yet, I have a C2 versus QN90B side by side on my channel right now. So go check that out.
Cool. All right. And Classy, what's happening in your world in the next coming weeks? We're on vacation, right? But what, are you going to put up anything or what?
Yeah, I'm going to try and get a couple videos to schedule while I'm gone. But I'm going to be leaving Saturday. I'll be back Tuesday. And then next week, finish up the C2 and then get the S95B or G2, whichever comes in first, I guess.
Okay.
And then by the end of the month, I should have the 83-inch G2. Yeah.
And Brandon, what's happening in your world between massaging your ankle and reviewing TVs next week?
No, I just got some scratches. I got to itch them. I can't get at them. Can't get at them at the cast. No, I have. I'm just doing the new Tesla video. So be the consumer. I think I've asked a couple people, and you know, Class C, KG, you guys want to? I'm gonna have it. You know, the video on a couple people's community posts. So if they want to check the video out, it'd be cool. Maybe get a little jump start on that video. But I'm doing that, and then I think we're gonna have to we're going to have the Sony soundbars video, like the comparison of the 3 systems that they have. And then I'm going to have the 83-inch LG G or C2. So those are kind of the next 3 videos. But then I'll be pumping out at least one a week on both channels going forward. So be split.
You're the man, productive, doing something new. So,
Cool.
And I have
Says
a
the
question.
guy that has like 4 videos a week that you do. I don't know how you do it. I swear there's 2 of you.
Well, before we get to what I'm doing, I want to take care of these super chats because Dylan Crow has a question. 85-inch X95K or QN90B? This is a question everyone will have. It will be in a brighter room with some wide viewing angles. And just so everyone knows, the X95K is not out yet, but let's just speculate. What would you guys suggest based on what you've seen the QN90B already and the expectations of the X95K?
It's going to be hard to beat. It's going to be hard to beat, but that's why we have to have the battle, right? Go ahead, Classy.
I don't see Sony catching it this year, and especially with off angle, I think Samsung is going to do better there.
Yeah.
In a brighter room, it might be close, but like as soon as if you watch a movie at night, it's going to be hard to beat the QN90B. I mean, it really looks good. I don't know if you guys have all had it, right? The 2 of you done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you notice on yours? It seemed like when I was watching content that it looked the whole screen looked lifted a little bit. But then when I'd watch it in darkroom, I didn't even notice. I don't know. It's just like it looked like it was like it had less contrast. But then I'd watch it in a dark room, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm just crazy because it looks fine to me here, And I try to pick TVs apart, but I don't know.
If you use the movie mode and the settings are pretty decent, like it does a pretty good job at following EOTF, and then When you compare it to an OLED next to it, something that I don't know if people realize this, like it can look like midtones are raised too much when they're not. It's because like imagine 100, it's making the light bulb look like 100-watt light bulb instead of it looking like a 60-watt light bulb on the OLED. That
Mhm.
brightness of the highlight determines the brightness of the rest of the scene. So it's going to make everything else around it look brighter.
Yeah.
It's not that it's artificially raising midtones, it's matching the highlight in the scene, and that's what it's supposed to do.
That
Now,
makes sense.
previously,
Yeah.
Samsung would way over brighten the midtones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so much better this year. It's like they have what I call it controlled lighting. Like it just feels like it's directed at you, other than raising the whole entire scene like in previous QLEDs before. So I definitely feel like what they did with their shape adaptive light or whatever, the extra processing changes
Yeah.
they did, it's really good, and it's
That
noticeable. It's very
I agree.
noticeable.
Yeah,
I
those the Apple, I have the Apple TV screensavers. They've never looked better on a QLED before. I mean, they looked remarkable. Like when I was flying up to that one big building in like Abu Dhabi or whatever, it was so the highlights were so bright in the smallest little like quick flashes too. They were going really fast too. And I was like, this is like very OLED like in that instant,
Yeah.
looked
Yeah, 'cause
very similar.
I measured all the way down to a 0.25% window size, and that was 830 nits. Like it is beyond OLED level in those small highlights now.
So this is a hard challenge for the
That's
X95K.
It's going to be tough.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
tough.
and the wide
In a
viewing
brighter
angle.
room, with like 1080p content or like cable, straight on, or we will be some viewing angles, but I think it'll probably be less noticeable, and some people might just like the Sony TV better because they like Sony TVs. If I had to go and like from my installer hat and be like, oh, I think people would like these equally, but I think there's some competitive advantages that might be there for the Samsung. Who knows?
Agreed. Hey, Trevor, thanks for the super chat. If each of you had to choose one 2022 TV, which one would you choose and why?
Too early.
I'll start just real quick. The LG G2 for me, because heatsink, I know the motion's now caught up to Sony, and I need some of those gaming features just to have fun with it. How about you guys?
Yeah, so I'm getting the 83 G2. Like it does everything. It's the jack of all trades. Doesn't really suffer in any area.
Yeah, for me, so far, I like the QN90B the best out of all the TVs I've seen so far, but I haven't seen them all, so I'll say that. And it's still early, right? So, but
Very
the
early.
S95B, I'm super excited about. I'm like I think that has a chance to be the best gaming TV of the year, and so I'm really excited about that. Can't wait to check that out, and I will have that in like the first week, hopefully. So,
All right. And how about you, Brandon?
I think it's got to be one of probably a G2, or I don't know if it's going to be, if I would even care to pick a bigger TV, but if it's smaller, I'd probably say the A95K, but that's only 65. So one of those
It's
issues.
only 65 inch.
Yeah, it's such a bummer, but it's the first year. I guess it's just it is what it is.
I mean, you see all my empty wall space with the 65. I got to fill that.
Yeah,
that's right.
And for me, like I'm like, okay, this 65 could replace my 65-inch A90J, and I could sell that, right, or whatever. Like, but then it's like I even sitting there, like I could also have a 77-inch TV in my bedroom, which is ridiculous. But it's like 16 feet away from the end of my bed. It's like a long bedroom. So that 65-inch looks tiny there, and replacing it with a $4,000, basically the same thing but slightly improved version of itself. It's like, that's the thing that people should think about, like FOMO and everyone always says, the size difference is going to trump just a slightly better TV, So,
yep. And it's always going to be a little bit brighter too when it's that much bigger.
For sure.
So we'll be wrapping up real quick just so you guys know. Next week, I won't be here. I'll be in New York City doing covering the auto show. So I might have some live streams and a bunch of stuff for the auto show. Yeah, it's kind of cool. And also, I might be able to fit in an unboxing before the weekend or on the weekend. I will be unboxing a TV technology that you have not seen me unbox before. That's my hint. I'm sure you can guess what it is, but it is a TV that no one has yet reviewed. Hopefully, we'll see. Maybe this weekend a bunch of people will review at the same time. But obviously it'll either be the Sony A95K or the Samsung S95B. I'll let you guys guess which one it is. And yeah, anything else before we check out for the day,
I
guys?
see one more super chat.
Yeah, I think you missed
Oh,
Victor.
there's one more. Wait. Who is it?
Oh, the
What am I missing?
A90. Which
Victor?
one is it?
Oh, here we go. Thank you for catching that. Victor saved. Thanks, Classy. Hey, wait for the A80K or buy the A80J. The 80K will be brighter. I think that should be a question. Will it be
Yeah,
brighter?
will it be brighter?
Well, because Sony is not good at making it brighter without a heatsink. But what are your speculations for the A80K versus the A80J?
It depends on the size and the panel lottery, because if you get a WBE in the 55 or 65, then I mean you got it already, and the 77
Right.
always comes with it. So, but if you get a 55 or 65 and you don't, then that's where the difference will be. So,
Panel lottery is alive and well, Victor. Would you wait KG or just
I wouldn't
save money and
wait.
get the A80J now?
Yeah,
Because
I
even if
don't.
it was the new thing, it wouldn't matter.
Mm-hmm. If especially at the 77-inch size, like I think you're probably gonna get roughly the same TV, but it's hard to say. We don't know. Maybe they've made some processing enhancements in the software department that can change things, and then who knows if they're gonna all be WBE for 65 and 55. We'll see.
yeah, and especially at launch, A80K 65 is probably only going to be a couple $100 less than the A80J 77. So absolutely do that.
Yes, very good point. Yeah, I go with the extra size on an OLED for sure. It gets a bit brighter because of the size difference. But yep, good question, Victor. Thank you for that. So we will catch everyone later. We may or may not have a live stream this weekend. I don't know if I can make it, but Brandon, do you think you'll be able to do a PTR live stream this weekend?
Probably not. I think this is a good opportunity to do it today. Thanks for coming, guys. And
Okay.
I think I may, I don't know, we could probably do one on like we talked about, we may be doing some more back on our own channels too.
Yeah.
So, if we have to. So, we'll figure it
Right,
out.
then.
We'll
We'll
be
figure it
back
out.
in one manner or the other.
We will figure it out. And yes, because I
And-
know that I definitely want to talk to KG on the live stream about, is there a big difference when you save money on a Samsung going with 85B over the 90B? Because that's a few $100s. And for most people, maybe it's not a big difference at all. So KG is going to look into that. Check out his channel, guys. Until next time, everyone, pass the remote.